And that means that we're live. Justin, hey, I'm Chris. I am the Long Box Punk. Welcome to a very new, very live interview here on YouTube. Justin Belmont, my guest over here. Thanks for joining me, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, hey, I want to know, um, right off the bat, give me your, entire life story, uh, however you tell people.
How I got caught up in comics.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. How did you end up working, writing, doing all of the comic work that you're currently doing?
I started off kind of early, about 15 years old. Well, I guess not early for some people. Started reading comics at like 6 or something. But I used to collect baseball cards, and there was this comic book shop. I'm from upstate New York. There's this comic shop called Ravenswood. It was downtown in Utica, and we used to go there and just buy baseball cards. But I would always, see the covers, all the comics when I had to go buy the rack. And after a while, those covers just caught my eye, and I eventually became a customer and ditched the baseball cards and just started collecting comic books. Um, and around that time, I actually discovered marijuana, which kind of that's how I came up with the character Smokes. One day, I was just sketching with my friend, and we were just fucking around, and I drew this fox head, and the fox head had like a uni eye, kind of like Cerebus, because I was a big fan of Cerebus, and I just gave him those kind of eyes. I kind of like gave him like a clean haircut, kind of like Cerebus has, and I threw a pipe in his mouth. And at first, I just threw an X on his pipe. I was thinking maybe like it was Brand X was the company name or something. I wanted something kind of iconic instead of having like a logo on his chest or whatever like Superman has. I wanted to have something, but so I just threw an X on the pipe. It was just a standard, boring like pipe, like a corn cob pipe or something.
Yeah.
And later on, when we redesigned them, we made him this fancier pipe. But yeah, smokes was just something I came up with around 15, just messing around. And then over the years, he kind of ate at me like, you got to do something with that character. And then I saw that, all these platforms started popping up like Kickstarter and Indiegogo that you can actually put out your own comic and people will, help you fund it.
Hmm.
So I decided to create create my character smokes, redesign them, and actually put out my first comic. And then during production, it wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to. So instead of making Smokes a longer comic book, I decided to put out Weaponized Werewolf, which is a prequel to Smokes. So
Okay.
both stories go together. You're going to see the same characters in those two titles. So that's kind of how I got into comic books. And I've just always been a collector of art. Um, I wish I can draw. I've always tried to draw, but I'm not the greatest artist. I even tried to be an inker. I did all right with that, but just it's a lot of patience and a lot of time. I think I'm not just that um built for it, I guess. So I kind
Right.
of abandoned that. I still wanted to put out my comic book, and I decided I wanted to enlist Mike Barron to write it. I see him every year. Comes to Rocky Mountain Con. He lives in the general area in the Colorado area, so it's kind of like a local. So I
Hmm.
see him all the time, and I decided this year, this one particular year, that I was just going to walk up to his table and ask him if he would write my book. So I actually just walked up to him and said, "Hey, I got this idea for a pot smoking fox. Would you want to write it?" It was something like that. It's just basic, just straight to the point. And he's like, "Sure, I'm in." And
Just like
that
that.
was it. And I don't know. I thought he was joking or whatever, just busting my balls or whatever. I thought I
Yeah.
was gonna be like, "Get the fuck out of here, kid," or whatever. But actually, he was. He told me he was born to write the comic book. I guess, and when he first got out of college, he worked for the government, and his job was to smoke marijuana and tell the government the effects on his body. And I guess they'd probably do tests on him, maybe or whatever. Run tests besides the questions, something like that. But he actually got paid to smoke marijuana. Like Some
That's
people do
crazy.
a job. That's what he did. So he told me that backstory. I didn't know he was even a smoker when I asked him. I mean, I maybe like thought he might be, but I never. It wasn't for sure.
Right.
So we did Smokes, and we did Weaponized Werewolf Zero. I numbered it zero since it's pretty much the prequel. And right now I'm working on Smokes 2. And that's going to be a 24-page book of story. I'm not sure how many pages is going to be beyond the story, but I'm hoping to get some, original fan art or something like that throw in there,
Yeah.
um, stuff like that. And I'm also working with this project that I haven't named yet, or I haven't named, but I haven't announced it yet. And that's with Hojo. If you're familiar with Hojo and the Mythicals comic
Mm-mm.
book,
Okay.
um, he's got that over on Fun My Comic. But it's a 12-page story, and I might package it together with Smokes 2. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet with it, or I just might have it on its own. But that's just something I'm working on right now. I'm just trying to stay busy and just when it's ready, it's ready. I don't really have a timeline, so to speak. I don't have a deadline. I know
Yeah.
I hope to get it out sooner than later, but when it's ready, it's ready. You know what I mean? I don't want to put out
Yeah.
any product that I'm not proud of. When I'm
Right.
dead or whatever, these comics are going to be around still, and I want to be proud of what I put out. I'm not just going to put it out just because it's been a while or whatever.
Right.
If I had more funds and I had more backers, I can probably put the comic out faster, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? I'm a new person, no one really knows who I am. I gotta get out there more. Even if I did 100 shows, that's not enough.
Right.
You gotta always just keep pushing. Every day I try to get, 5 to 10 followers on Twitter or whatever, a couple more subs on YouTube, a few more people following me on Instagram or whatever. That's every day I get a little bit longer of a reach, you know what I mean? Just little by little. So that's what I try to do. Try to reach smaller goals.
Yeah.
Um, instead of looking at trying to get 1,000 subs, don't look at it that way. I would try to make a smaller goal first. Like get right now I'm one sub away from 650. So my next goal is 650. Then once I hit 650, it'll be like like 675 or 700. Just do it
Right.
in steps like that, and then once I accomplish it, I just make another goal. But I think it's better that way to make these smaller goals where you're working up like a staircase instead of like just looking at the ultimate goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta work your way up. Um, you gotta get out there. A lot of people are putting out comic books. You think you hire a great comic book artist to draw your cover. Cover looks fantastic. Problem is, you never integrated with the community. No one knows who you are. You weren't
Hmm.
in the chat rooms. You weren't saying hi. You weren't hailing the chat. You weren't maybe you weren't backing anybody else's books. There's a lot of people out there that are taking but not giving anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think I think a lot of creators don't understand that. You have to give back. You have to promote other creators. You have to I don't know, just be a part of the community in general. That's really it. I mean, it's not much to it. Make
Yeah.
friends, retweet other people's campaigns. What's so hard about that?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. They only promote their self. They're all about their self or whatever. And I think, you're not going to go very far doing that. I think, you get what you put in. Um,
Right.
why not help
Yeah. Mhm.
somebody else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not?
And I've
What's
noticed
the
a
problem?
lot. Right. It's so simple to do. And like once you start doing it, you start finding other people that are doing it a lot too. And so like it kind of has become this like very tight community of like, hey, I'm gonna try and uplift everybody. Like we're all trying to do the thing just at different times. So instead of like trying to shoot down your boat and shoot down your boat and raise the water for my own, like why not raise the water for everybody? Because then everybody raises with it. And like it's so easy to just like hit repost. It's it's so easy to do, and I don't understand like why more people aren't doing that just to help spread. Like I have a very different follower base than you do, than anybody else does, and everybody's got their own unique crew that they talk to on social media. And who's to say that there's people in my network that aren't going to be interested in, what you're doing or what people in your network are doing. And without everybody like sharing and helping each other, we're just not going to see it. And that's like that DIY mindset of just like, I'm going to help everybody else because I'm helping myself at the same time. There's something to be said for that. And I'm glad that you called that out, because I feel
Well,
like a lot of people need to hear that.
well, I don't want to help the world. I don't want to help every indie creator there is. I mean, I just can't do it. It's just not physically possible. But I
Right.
tried to help the
Right.
ones that want to help themselves. The ones that I think that are putting their passion into it. Anybody can make a comic book, but not everybody can make a good comic book.
Right.
And you can see some of these guys are just like, oh, they saw this guy made 100 grand, whatever. I'm gonna put out my comic book and I'm just gonna make money, hand over fist or whatever, and not really having any passion or anything, just throwing it out there. Um, those are the ones that I don't think are gonna last very long.
Mm.
Um, I think the ones that have been into comic books for a long time, the guys that have 50 long boxes and in their closet or whatever, those are the guys that really love comic books. Those are the creators that are going to put love into their comic books. um, Everything I do, I try to do the best I can with it, hire the best people I can, whenever possible. Work with some great artists, try to get covers by legends or whatever I can do. I mean, I've been
Mhm.
turned down. Not everybody wants to draw a pot smoking fox. I understand. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's different. My wife's like, "Why is he smoking weed? Why you got to do that? That's going to turn off a lot of people." Well, that's what I want to do. I'm not having anybody tell me, what to do, what direction I'm going to go with my comic or whatever.
Right.
This is just the way it is, and I mean, I got turned down for going on people's streams because of the marijuana aspect. Well, if you come out with another title and it doesn't have to do with marijuana, I'll have you on or whatever. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. Yeah. And see, like where I'm at with it is like I don't smoke, but that doesn't mean that
yeah,
like we can't talk about a comic book, because I love comics. Like, I've got the 12 long boxes here in my office. My walls are all covered with artwork. Like I started a freaking show to talk to indie creators about the books that they're creating. So I like, just because you wrote a book about a pot smoking fox doesn't mean that like now I identify as a pot smoking fox. You know what I'm saying? Like, just for having you on the show. So like I don't know. I don't get the like, I'm going to say no because of the content, because it's not, like then it represents me. And it's like, no, I just want to represent indie comics, like in any form. So tell me more about, I've got this banner here. So tell me more about Smokes the Fox. I know you started on your website. You've got like the first sketch that you ever did from, I think it was 1993 that's on there.
yeah. That's
Um,
when I was about 15.
Okay. So like how did you go from that idea? I know you said that it like just kind of stuck with you. Like how did you develop the character more to then be able to pitch to a writer like, "Hey, I got this idea for a story. Like, will you write it?" What did that process look like making this first issue?
Um, I kind of told Mike Barron what I wanted to happen in the story. Over the years, his origin changed. Originally, it was kind of like a rip-off origin of the Turtles. I was gonna have like some teenagers were hanging out in a park and they were smoking out of a pipe, and then the cops rolled up or something, and then they threw the pipe in the bushes or something like that, and the pipe
Yeah.
was still lit. And then this pipe was sniffed by a regular standard fox, and then he kind of like the chemicals in the pipe mixed with the marijuana somehow made this fox mutate into a humanoid fox. That was my original, and then later on over the years, I was thinking about it and stuff, and I completely changed that. I wanted the more realistic. I don't know if you're into conspiracies or like stuff like that or cryptids and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but if you ever heard of Dulce Base, familiar with that name?
I don't think I am. No.
Everybody knows Area 51, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they call this place Area 52. It's like a nickname, but supposedly this is underground facility under the Colorado New Mexico border. And in this facility, supposedly there's like gray aliens working with humans, and they're doing like DNA experiments and stuff like that. So I kind of took that lore from that story. There's been like whistleblowers that have come out. I know if you're familiar with like Phil Schneider, that guy who supposedly
Mhm.
got killed, or whatever, and he said that he was fought like aliens in an underground base.
Yeah.
I believe that was Dulce Base, what he was talking about.
Okay.
So I kind of took the lore from that. Whistleblowers have come out saying they call that floor Nightmare Alley or Nightmare Hall, where they supposedly do these experiments. So in my book, Smokes is half human. He's got a human mother, and he's mixed with the Fox DNA. But he's birthed like a regular human would be.
Yeah.
So, and then there's other hybrids as well. And Cheney, aka Weaponized Werewolf, is another one of the hybrids. He's not the smartest one in the group, but um, he is the strongest. And Smokes isn't the strongest, but he's the smartest.
Okay.
And he's able to escape the facility, and he gets out, and he kind of runs across these campers, these teenagers in the woods, and they were smoking weed all night, and they just happened to fall asleep. And Smokes reaches in their tent and grabs their stash, and that's the first time Smokes gets high. But it's not like a stupid book like Beavis and Butthead or something where it just giggles and smokes. It's not just about the marijuana. Marijuana is just a small part of it, very small part of it.
Yeah.
Um, this storyline gets very involved, especially in issue 2. He's just Mike's just building up everything. Um, I can't wait to show issue 2. In issue 2, we're gonna meet a new female character. She's a goth chick,
Okay.
and I got Corey Barton. If you're familiar with him, the artist of Kozor. He's drawing the cover for that, and I also enlisted the legendary Bob Hall to draw my main cover for Smokes 2.
That's
So
awesome.
both those covers are finished, colored, pretty much ready to go. But the interiors, I'm about 5 pages done, inked, and but they're not lettered yet. So production's going a little bit slower than I want it to be. So I'm hoping Lee Oaks, my artist, hustles a little bit more. I'll be seeing him at the Denver Con in July.
Mm.
He actually lives in Colorado, so he's a local. So I'm kind of using pros and people that live in my area, trying to stay local. I got my comics printed locally as well. I think that's a good idea for people out there because you get to go there and you get to see it in your hands.
Yeah.
Not worry about dinged up books in the mail. Save yourself hundreds of dollars on shipping. You know, I just
Yeah.
about 20 minutes down the road. That's all I got to go, and I can get my books.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
But
that's way better than waiting for him to get cleared through customs and all of
or whatever, yeah,
all the
ordering
overseas nonsense.
yeah, and I wanted to keep everything American made when I can.
Yeah.
And I want to. I heard you can get it printed cheaper over in Canada or whatever overseas, and I just decided I'd rather go local. But I
Yeah.
learned a lot putting out the first issue, uh, especially with the pre-press, which I knew nothing about. I thought
Mm.
that anything in your comic book, as far as the coloring, like the brightness and the contrast, could be adjusted for each individual page pretty easily on a file. But I guess once you get the printed printer file, that's the final file. You can't really edit it. You have to go
Mm.
back and pay the guy to do edits and then make a new file. You can't the printer can't go in there and adjust things. And I
Mm.
guess unless he has the InDesign file, I guess they could. But I learned a lot from the pre-press and just making comics in general. There's a lot of stuff people never thought of.
Yeah.
You might have text that doesn't fit in your panel. The artist didn't give you enough room, so you got to make sure that you get thumbnails made for your comics, and you actually got to make sure they throw the speech balloons in the thumbnails, and that there's enough room to put all that dialogue in there. So
Right.
on books issue 1 and the first couple of pages, I think there's like 1 or 2 word balloons I had to condense because it was either redraw the whole page or cut off some of the dialogue, and I really didn't want to do it, but that's what we had to do. But then after that, I made sure that all the thumbnails had the speech balloons added to make sure there's room, because that's a problem you don't want to have, and especially
Right.
when you don't have when it's really expensive to draw, to pay artists to draw your comics.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine the frustration of getting a page, realizing that you can't fit the balloons in, and then like, oh crap, now I gotta redraw the whole freaking page to like make it work. Uh like that's nightmare scenario that number like 18, I'm sure, in the process of making comics. So was Smokes the Fox your first, like, is that your first comic like ever that you got completely finished?
Smokes was completed first, I believe, and then Weaponized Werewolf was made shortly after, but they
Okay.
were both being made around the same time. But Weaponized Werewolf is only a 12-page story. And my neighbor actually drew it. And that's
Oh,
another
that's
strange
cool.
thing. I didn't know he was my neighbor when I hired him.
No
What's the
way.
chances of that? Yeah, his
That's
name's Barry
crazy.
McLean. He works for and what's the name of it? Blue Juice Comics.
Okay.
He was doing work for them, or on their label. Blue Juice Comics is owned by, I believe, Kevin Smith and those guys over there at the Stash. And he had this comic book called Billy the Kit, Kit. It was
Okay.
like this uh, rabbit, kind of like Smokes, but a rabbit, and walked on 2 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a horror western. And he's into all the horror stuff. And I knew he lived in Colorado, and I hit him up because he was working with White Baron before they did this comic book called Cue Ball,
Okay.
and I liked his stuff. And then one day I had to send him some sketch cards. So I wanted to do some sketch cards for the campaign. And then he gave me his address, and I said, "Man, I can fucking walk that over."
Right.
Because it was closer than the post office. He was actually like 20 paces from me. It was so weird. It is a small world. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when I got my tattoo. The guy who did it lived in Colorado, in Denver, right? And then he ended up moving next door to me and being my neighbor. Like
That's
months
wild.
later, or like after he did it, like within weeks later, he was living next door to me, and I looked at them and was like, "That guy looks familiar."
Right.
It's just weird, sometimes things happen like that. I don't know if they're meant to be or whatever, coincidences, whatever you wanna call it, but
Yeah. Yeah, we had similar where like so my wife and I met working together at an amusement park here in Ohio, and we had a bunch of the same friends because we worked in the same department. And so like fast forward, I don't know, 8 years, we're married, we're living in a new town, still in Ohio, still in the same area, but like I basically moved to the other side of the city. And um so we get a dog and we're looking for some like a groomer, and we go to the local like grooming shop, and there's one of our friends from the amusement park that we worked at, and it was like, oh hey, like you do dog stuff, and she was like, yeah, totally, like you have a dog now, and we're like, yeah. And so then she ended up leaving because she got pregnant, so she took maternity leave and was like, hey, I'm not going back, but like I'll still cut your dog's hair. Gave us her address, and she's like 6 minutes away. I was like, you're closer than if we drove to the grooming salon to see you. Like that was a 20-minute drive. Now I can just drive 6 minutes to your house. And she's like, yeah, just come over. So it's very strange that we met working like 40 miles east of here, and now we live 6 minutes away from each other. And it just like stuff like that happens all the time. And it's always like shocking to me. But then every time that I hear it, I'm like, this shouldn't be surprising because it happens to so many people. But like to have not just two people, but like two artists that live so close to you, has to like, do you guys get together on like Halloween and pass out candy together? Like, are
no,
you living that suburban life?
uh, Lee Oaks, my artist for Smokes, and Mike, they live about an hour and a half away, 90 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
And my neighbor though, Barry, he does live really, really close, and that's just it's just so strange. You know, it's a small world. There's 2 million people in Denver. It's not like a little town,
Right. Right.
but I don't know what the chances are of that. So we lived next to each other for years too, for many years, and didn't know it. So,
That's crazy.
but
So
yeah,
with Weaponized Werewolf, how did, like, you said that that came out around the same time that the first issue of Smokes did, but Weaponized Werewolf is a prequel. So like, how did you come up with that story? Was it just kind of like as part of the Smokes tale that you were like, I want to have this total like beefy badass of a werewolf also? Like, how did that come about?
I never had intention to put out any kind of werewolf book. When I pitched the idea for my comic book to Mike, I never said anything about a werewolf. But I never gave Smokes a villain in the
Mm,
story. I thought that the government would just be the villain, you
yeah.
know, in general or whatever. The program, uh, Project Minotaur. That's what I call it, and that's a secret project. And they tried other hybrids as well, not just a fox and a wolf. They did like there was a squirrel one you could catch in the first issue and stuff like that. And I was thinking maybe later on I might do like a spin-off or something with those characters or something.
Yeah.
But what was the question again? I forgot. No,
So
I
like how did the character of Weaponized Werewolf how did that come to like live and exist in the universe of Smokes?
Oh, so he Mike added the character I think as the villain of the story, and that's about it. And then he called
Okay.
him Cheney, Lon Chaney, like the original Wolfman,
Yeah. Yeah.
the actor that played him. And when I was thinking when I would put out Smokes, that wasn't going that that fast as I wanted to, so I decided to put the character Cheney and give him his own book. But I didn't like the name Cheney as the title of the book. It's a cool name for his name, but not for
Yeah.
the title.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about title names, I wanted to do something like Wonder Woman. You know, it has two W's, and
Yep.
I knew one of the words was going to be werewolf. So I just had to come up with the other word, and weaponized actually came to me, and that's why I called it that. But the both books were made at the same time, and Mike wrote both scripts, and it takes place 15 years prior. I just told Mike I wanted the kind of like a Weapon X type thing where you can see what Cheney is capable of,
Yeah.
like a story, and that's what you kind of see in issue 0 of Weaponized Werewolf. You kind of see that what he can do, and they kind of take him out in his van and give him a test drive on some wild animals, and then you find out a little bit more about these this race of aliens or like alien greys, and then issue 2 there's another set of alien greys, of alien not alien greys of just another alien race,
Hmm.
and it gets crazy. So it's not just it's a very involved story, and I think people are gonna love it. It's bringing back fun into comics. There's no politics in it or anything like that. It's just a fun story.
Yeah.
Mike throws in humor when he can. He's a great writer. I think everybody's gonna enjoy it. I just can't wait to get it out. I just wish I can go. I'm at the mercy of my creative team. So when it's
Yeah.
ready, it's ready.
Right. Yeah, I noticed in the preview pages that are up on the Fund My Comic campaign that there were aliens in both the Smokes issue and Weaponized Werewolf. So I was going to ask you about that. But like also on your YouTube channel, is that just for folks that are interested? Is that just like at Belmont Press,
What do you mean?
like
My
on YouTube?
what's my name on YouTube?
Yeah.
Belmont Press Comics
Okay. Yeah, because
at
I
Belmont Press Comics.
cool, because I was perusing your channel and I saw that I think it's called like John's Conspiracy Closet.
Oh,
And so
Justin's Conspiracy Closet.
there
That's
it
me.
is. Yeah, yeah. So I get into weird like YouTube wormholes where I will start watching like, 2-hour long video essays of conspiracy theories.
Uh-huh.
So I was with the aliens showing up in the comics and then the conspiracy closet. I wanted to ask you, like, are you writing some of the theories, like the conspiracy stuff, into your books, or is that just like a happenstance type of thing? Like, is there an overlap of those two?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I had the Dulce base lore kind of thrown into my comic book. I don't call the base Dulce base. I call the program Project Minotaur, and that's where they're mixing the DNA of the humans with these animals.
Hmm.
But the lore is supposed to be they're mixing the human DNA with like alien DNA. So I changed it up a little bit and just they're messing with like just different animals. And
Yeah.
Smokes is able to get out, and he's the only one. And they send this maniac werewolf Cheney to eliminate him or to remove him if they need to, because he can't let this big secret out that they're doing this stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I do like alien stuff. I've been into that stuff probably before comic books, watching
Okay.
unsolved mysteries, watching UFO documentaries. I've probably seen hundreds of them. Um, I've actually seen a UFO a couple times for real, like at my house,
Yeah.
living in Colorado. So I had, I know they're real. I know people don't even the government's come out and said they're real, and no one seemed to even care. It's like
Yeah.
no big deal. I think everybody already knows they are real. There's just so much evidence that you can't deny it anymore. You know what I mean? Some of
Yeah.
that footage is fake. Some of those pictures are fake, but not all of them. Not all of it. Some of those stories are true. How true are these stories? How Who knows? There's a lot of misinformation too
Right.
on the internet. What they are, where they're from, what they want, all that stuff is unknown. But they are here or come here from somewhere, another dimension or whatever it is. Um, I never seen an alien though. I've seen craft, and I assume that they are alien craft. They do stuff that I don't think we can do, but
Right.
I believe in it, and I believe in other cryptids and stuff too, and I wanted that to be a part of my comic book.
Hmm.
I didn't want like some, the stupid book like a Beavis and Butthead where it's just laughing and giggling and smoking weed, like a Cheech and Chong comic
Yeah.
book or something. I didn't want to do that. So that's not what this is. But I don't like how the comic books got rid of smoking in their book. That's another reason why I wanted to put it out.
Mm.
You can't even have a cigar in like a Marvel comic. Like Wolverine can't smoke a cigar anymore. The Thing or whatever can't smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
They got rid of all smoking, in comic books. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's another reason why I put that element in there,
Okay.
and I think he's got a little bit of me in the character, but he isn't me. I didn't make a character that looks like me or anything like that. But I think you should put like some real elements maybe into your figures, some real life stuff.
Yeah.
Um, But that goes for all your work, I guess. You should put a little bit in there. I put some stuff in the backgrounds of my comics. No one's probably going to ever notice. Uh, Small little things in a panel in the background that I had my letterer put in that no one will probably get unless they really, really know me well or something like that. So maybe
Yeah.
years from now, someone will discover it or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be
I love stuff
scavenger
like
hunt.
that. That's good stuff. So with speaking of your YouTube, so you do tell me about your channel. You do the Man Cave Thursdays at 6 Eastern time, right? Even though you're in Colorado?
Yeah, I'm in Colorado. I'm on this magic mountain time. So it's
Yep.
4 o'clock. And Good Stuff is in the chat. He's my co-host,
Okay.
and we also have Ray, who's in the chat. He's always on panel with us, and we have Fanta. Kind of, we got that golden ratio where you have like 3 guys and a girl.
Yeah.
But then we have other people that join the panel. We'll have the guest. We'll have usually an indie creator guest. We just had Andy Smith on. We've had Mike Barron on before. Uh, who else we have? Bancroft came on, John
Okay.
Allen. So, but we don't just have bigger creators on. We also have smaller guys no one's ever heard of. I mean, if I think their comic looks cool or whatever, they want to come on and they want to have a good time. But it's not for everybody. The show. It's a lot of adult humor,
Sure.
a lot of strong, very strong language. You could drink on the panel, you could smoke, whatever you want to do. We don't have any rules and stuff. We don't want to get kicked off YouTube. We don't want to show any nudity or
Yeah.
anything like that. Even though Good Stuff did let a nipple show once, I think, but
Unbelievable.
we had to cover it up. He blurred it out, and then there was like 1 or 2 seconds where he forgot to blur it or something, and it showed. But yeah, you got to watch out for that, especially when you're live, something like that, or we might
Yeah.
play a video or something that they don't like, and YouTube will take us down for a couple minutes. But that's about it. But we haven't had that happen in a while. We just have fun and just have a good laugh. We do a Babe of the Week poll where we have like 4 different women. Sometimes our chat will submit the photos, and then we just comment on the photos and rate them or vote on who's your favorite. We have skits and stuff like that. It's kind of like guys' night out, hanging out, but on a
Okay.
stream.
Okay.
Even if you're in the chat, it's kind of like hanging out. So see a lot of regulars in our chat, and it's starting to get a decent following. We think we had like about 200 views for our last episode.
Nice.
We simulcast on my channel and Good Stuff's channel.
Okay.
But I used to do a show called Cannabis and Conspiracies, and we did about 40 something episodes, I think. I don't know if I'm gonna bring that back or not, but I did a lot of stuff like we did like Bigfoot, various cryptids, Dogman, UFOs, famous abduction cases, life on Mars, just a lot of crazy stuff. We just go deep in the rabbit hole. I don't think YouTube really appreciated those shows. Like, did we go to the moon and stuff like that? They didn't really
Yeah.
like that one either, or the DIA airport one. They definitely didn't like that one. We did an Area 51, just a bunch of controversial shows that
Yeah.
it seems like every time I'd put a show like that out, it would get buried in like the YouTube search or whatever and not get any
Yeah.
views, which is really weird.
Yeah, I have noticed you have to be real specific with like what you're searching. Otherwise, you get the same like very copy paste feeling videos where it's like, it's all the faceless, like everything is voiceover. And it's like, especially now, is like, is that even like human voiceover or is that AI? That's like someone just put in what they want to talk about and then tell chat GPT to, here, spit out a 45-minute video talking about UFOs. And like, I don't like the just voiceover stuff because I am a pessimist and I just question all of that. Especially when it comes to conspiracy theories, because it's like, is that more misinformation that's just being plugged out there, or is it real? Like what's the source? Like having a broadcasting background, it's what my degree is in, but like I just don't trust the media because I know how skewed it can be and still fall well within the rights of like, nope, but we did our due diligence. And so I have noticed that because I think the snake people conspiracy theory is fun to watch because of all the
Like
videos.
reptilians, you mean?
Yeah. And like the videos of celebrities that where like it looks like the eyes blink vertically instead of horizontally, or like there's a camera glitch or something and for a second they look like they've shape shifted.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So those videos for me are like, I don't believe that theory. But when you see all of the stuff that are compiled in a lot of those videos, it's like, I can understand why someone would think that. Like, I don't personally believe that, but I get it. And like, it's interesting to me to hear more about that. And so like that's one that, but then like I have to be very specific with what I'm searching to even find videos that aren't just voiceover work, with like pictures or random like 2 to 5 second clips of stuff that's all cut together. So that's neither here nor there though.
No, we
Again,
just did them. We did the shows live. We didn't pre-record them. Sometimes a person on the panel would not agree with me or whatever. I don't agree with them. Everybody had their own opinion. We didn't really give anybody our opinion or make them believe our opinion. We let them make up their own opinion, and we just presented the evidence or what we think or our thoughts, and you can decide,
yeah,
if we landed on the moon or whatever. I don't think we did. And not in 1969. We just magically destroyed all the stuff to get there. Who does that?
yeah,
And then,
yeah,
at first I was like, you guys are crazy. Of course we went to the moon. And then after, like, watching a bunch of shows and stuff like that, I listened to Coast to Coast. They'll have a guest on. He thought the same thing. We did go to the moon, blah, blah, blah. And then after he starts asking, NASA simple questions. Hey, I'm writing a book. Can you answer this for me? And just not getting a response, it made no sense. Nothing added up. Nothing.
yeah,
And when you think about it, everything was so perfect with that landing and that speech, one small step from, you know what I mean? It was just all too fucking perfect.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
think it was
Talking about quote,
necessary,
yeah,
to say
yeah.
that we were superior to the Russians or whatever. I understood why we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly they call that Operation or Project Touchdown, something like that. That's what they called the faking of the moon landing. That's
Mm,
what the code name was, something like that. But I don't know, man. There's just a lot of misinformation. Who knows what that? Some people say you can't even go into space. That a human can't even go into space,
right.
and that or whatever that the astronauts just went into orbit and they just orbited the Earth. They didn't go on the moon, and that's it. They orbited the moon or the Earth for a while, and then they came back.
Right.
Um, I don't know. Even like what's his name, Buzz Aldrin. I think he came out and said, "No, you didn't see me land on the moon. That was all animation." He's even saying that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Then there's people telling him to swear on a Bible and shit, and they getting punched in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, listen, you
uh,
can say anything at any point about anything, at like, and it's so easy to just change your story. Like, I don't know. The more and more like mass media stuff that I consume, the more and more that I'm just convinced that I can't believe a damn word that anybody's saying, because like there's no way to prove or justify or back up like anything from anywhere. You have to do like you were saying, like you got to see what this person's saying and what this group is saying and read what that thing is reporting on, and like you got to believe like 5% from 25 different sources to get to like, okay, this is the like picture that I'm kind of picking up on that everybody else seems to be agreeing with. And so I think that's probably where the truth is, but like nobody's reporting or giving us 100% of the like authentic truth. They're just giving us a little bit skewed with their opinion, their viewpoint, how it backs up their, whatever. And I don't know. I'll stick to comics. I'll stick in my lane, and I'll be happy to just talk comics and music. And how can you be controversial with comics? Like they're comics. Come on,
yeah,
everybody loves
on my
comics, right?
channel, I don't do anything like what do you call it, like popular or whatever to get all the views and clicks. If you want to get all the views, you could talk about Johnny Depp or whatever the Ricada or whatever, talk about stuff like that, or what's
Yeah,
going on in the news, talking about Trump or whatever. We don't do any of that. We do the shows that we want to do. You know what I mean? That I want to do. Um, Not because they're popular, just because I like that stuff. I like to
yeah,
talk about conspiracies and other people's opinions on that. Um, so yeah, there's a little bit of that in my comic books. Um, there's all kinds of crazy shit in my comics. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Um, I hope to make, like 5 or 6 of these and make it like a little mini series, maybe like, Hellboy does,
okay,
like, they have these little small mini series,
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
Maybe even a spin-off. and I have other ideas for other IPs and stuff. I just don't have the money to do everything or the time
Right.
even. I'm just not big enough, at the level yet to be putting out so many comic books and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know, um, and my comics are unique. I'm not. I don't know. A lot of people are doing stuff like that's already been done, kind of rehashing things, changing it a little bit.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I wanted to do more of original characters. I know nothing's truly 100% original because just about everything has been done. But I try to, do the best I can, and I want entertaining stories. I don't want to be, agendas or whatever. Try to get people to feel or do a certain thing or feel a certain way about something or a subject or anything like that.
Yeah.
No agendas when I'm thinking about my comics or anything like that. Just want everybody to have fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you collected Valiant comic books,
Yeah.
early
I'm a
stuff
big
like
fan
the
of it. Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
That was my favorite period. I liked Image Comics because they had really great art. But I found that the Valiant comics had great art and they also had the story.
Yeah.
And early on, when I was putting out Smokes One, I was talking with Don Perlin, who just passed away,
Mhm.
and he told me the most important part of your comic book is the story. It's more important than the drawing or anything around it. No good story, no good comic book.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how good your art is. Can't the story shit. It's not going to work. So I really, took that to heart, and I was like, I shouldn't be writing my own comic. Why? Because if I'm going to spend this kind of money on all this art and everything, and pay these artists to draw my covers, I want to have a really good story. So that's why I asked Mike. And Mike worked for Valiant for a while, so I was a fan. That's how I first learned about Mike was actually at Valiant, not because of his Punisher. I
Okay.
didn't really. I knew what the Punisher was, but I never really collected comics back in the mid '80s or whatever.
Right.
I didn't start collecting comics till about '91. I think the first comic book I bought was Rob Liefeld, New Mutants '86 or whatever. The Cable first appearance with the bubbles. You know what I mean? It was either
Okay.
'86 or
Yeah.
'87,
Yeah.
and it was at the mall. It was at this antique shop. They sold a bunch of I guess like antiques and stuff, but they had comic books too. And they just happened to have this comic book taped to like the window. And I
Okay.
walked by it and I was like, I have to have that book for some reason. And that was my first purchase, I believe.
That's
Just
awesome.
that cover was iconic, and it still is
Yeah.
today. People still uh, use that layout or whatever for their comics. I've seen a lot of indie creators do a homage or whatever you call it with,
Right.
with that cover. And that was my first book. And I do remember Mike Barron's Punisher being on the rack at the comic book shop at the Ravenswood when I used to get my baseball cards, but I never bought a comic. I just remembered seeing Joe Jusko's art.
Mm.
He was amazing artist, man. Just blew me away. But comics that I used to read and stuff, Bone,
Yep.
Concrete, Madman, a lot of indie books. Because back then, indie books were popular probably as they are now, or now it's even bigger.
Yeah.
But it seemed like everybody and their mother had their own character back in the early '90s, and that's kind of the reason why I created Smokes too, because I wanted my own character, my own IP, and that's what I came up with.
Yeah.
Um, but I do have other ideas that I've written down that maybe I would make. Just when I come up with an idea, I would just write it down. I got maybe like 10 ideas. I don't know how many of them are worth making, maybe one or two, but I think you should be creative all the time. The idea could just hit you while you're pissing. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, you know what I mean? It's happened where it's just like, oh shit, yeah, that's what I should do.
Yeah.
It could come to you at 2 in the morning while you're on the couch. Whatever. You wake up in the morning. It's like when you can't remember something, then like the next day or something that comes right to your head.
Yeah.
That's when you least expect it.
Yep.
The ideas will come to you. But like someone said, they get like these characters become like almost real in your head, and they want to come out, and they want to It really ate at me that this character Smokes wasn't, didn't have his own comic book. And every like 3 or 4 years, it would resurface in my head, like, you got to do something with it. You got to put it out. And I just couldn't stop, thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do it. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. And now here you are, and you've got so this is the second chance on Fund My Comics, right?
Yes, it's on Fund My Comic. It was originally on Indiegogo. I launched it there. Actually had it on Kickstarter. So maybe twice on Kickstarter, I think. So I've been having it out for a while. I'm just trying to get, as many people to notice it as I can. Just, build my audience
Yeah.
and, just make a good comic book.
Now, is there like you said you're in the storefront mode on Fund My Comics. So what's the difference between that and just like a traditional like Kickstarter campaign? Is this just like an open-ended thing?
Well, it started off as a regular campaign. Then after it ends, it's kind of like in demand. It's just called storefront mode.
Okay.
It's a different name for the same thing.
Got it.
So it's it's more ideal for me being a small creator to have all my comics on Fund My Comic like that instead of having everything on my own website and updating everything. It's just easier to do it on Fund My Comic, and people know about Fund My Comic. So I'm just going to keep that there until my copies are gone, I guess, or until I launch my next book. And I guess I'll have a catch-up tier with any books that I have left. I'm probably going to want to keep some for myself. So I am getting close to where I'm going to be shutting that store down, or at least some of the options are not going to be available. One of the covers is going to sell out first. I'm not sure which one yet, but that will happen. And I am running low. I think, so that was I don't want to have all these comics around the house and hear my wife bitching. So
Right.
I'd rather have them in the hands of the people.
Yep.
But I do
So I
want
wanna
some for myself.
Sure.
that?
I mean, yeah, like if you have a character that has been with you as long as Smokes has, to finally like get the book out there has to be insanely rewarding to be able to like hold the book in your hands and be like, this came from my brain. Like
Well,
I
not
can
at first. When I first held it in my hands, I almost cried because not in tears of joy. It was too dark. All the
Oh
printing was
no.
really dark and it looked awful. And I was like, oh my God, I just spent 3.5 years developing. Well, a lot of that time is waiting. You're waiting for your cover artist to be free. You're
Yeah.
waiting for this or that. And sometimes you got to wait for the right person. They're not available that time. They might have another project they're working on. They can't start inking your comic book yet. They can't start coloring your books yet. They're doing something else. You're not the only one
Right.
that wants to hire them, especially if they're a great artist. You're gonna have to wait in line, and then it's gonna hold your comic book back. But it's worth it, I think. If you want to work with somebody you really want to work with, gotta wait. It took me a while to start working on Smokes too because Mike wasn't available. He's working on his own stuff. He's got, Thin Blue Line 2 and another Nexus probably in the works or whatever else. He's writing comics for Eric July and he's got all kinds of stuff going on. He works on novels too. He does
Oh wow.
not just comic books. He makes biker novels. I think he's got at least 6 volumes
That's
of
crazy.
that. So he's always writing and always just later good stuff.
Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you in the comments. That was fun. Pop that up so we can show. That's who we're saying goodbye to. Yeah, I can't imagine like how busy anybody really in the indie scene, because it like I would imagine everyone has a different approach with like, oh, I've got this one that I for sure like this is my primary, but then I've also got these other 7 ideas that if I can hit along the way, that would be rad. And like everybody that I've talked to so far, they've got the one that they're like, this is the thing. And also like my radar is out for what I could possibly be doing next. And it just is like, I don't know how people keep all of that straight, because I I'm doing one show and I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping on top of everything and, getting in touch with people and doing the social media stuff. And now there's new social media and like everything is exploding everywhere and everyone wants to have their own platform and it's just a lot. So the fact that you got to the point where you successfully got your book out there is to be commended, because not everybody gets even to that point. So good on you. I do want to ask, and this is the last question here on my notes. So with Belmont Press, is that like, are you taking on like, is that just an avenue that was easier to do it yourself to get your book out there, or like are you looking to expand the imprint of Belmont Press? Like how does that work?
Belmont Press is just a LLC that I created to put my comic books under. Before this, I was in the record industry, believe it or not, Belmont Records,
Okay.
and I kind of repurposed the Belmont Records logo, and I just took out the records part and put uh, Belmont Press underneath it instead, and it's pretty much the same logo. So I just repurposed it, and I'm just putting out my own comics on my own imprint. And right now, I just have Smokes and Weaponized Werewolf, but I also have uh, this new title that I haven't, talked about yet. I do have a name for it. It's just too early right now. The script is done, but I'm gonna work on the cover next. I have a meeting on Monday to talk about the cover for that. Once it gets more evolved, I don't even know who's gonna draw the interiors yet. So
Okay.
once I get further down the road and stuff, I'll announce it. I don't like to announce things too early because I think it kind of like blows everything. I think you should be ready, and have your stuff a little bit more to show before
Yeah.
I do that. So I kind of learned that from the first putting from my first campaign too. Know when to hold back your stuff.
Yeah.
When it's ready, it's ready. But I do have two covers that are completed that I haven't shown anybody yet. I also have this homage pinup, I guess you can call it, that I haven't shown yet. I have a new sticker of my new character. Her name is Haley Sloan. She's this goth chick. She's going to be in issue 2. So I had 6 a.m. Do a sticker for me. So that will probably be included in my next campaign. I might bundle my campaign together, kind of like I did the first campaign, where you get Smokes and Weaponized Werewolf, but this time you get Smokes 2 and this other project
Okay.
as like a bundle. And
Yeah.
if you don't want this other project, you can just get Smokes by itself. I'll probably have different options, stuff like that. Or I
Yeah.
might just do its own campaign. I haven't really figured that out yet. Yeah, I'm not. I just kind of wing it sometimes too. Sometimes the best thing to do is just do how you feel. You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
lock yourself down into something right away. Just think about it for a while and just go with the flow. Who knows? Maybe someone will just come out of nowhere and say, "Yeah, I'll draw that" or whatever. You never know what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
it's just something fun that I'm doing just to stay busy. I hope to one day get big enough where I can put out multiple comics. It's kind of like like what's his name there does Polito puts out Coffin, all those comics, Lady Death,
Mhm.
and all that, and he has like this whole universe. But this new comic book doesn't actually go with the Smokes universe. It's not a part of that. It's not.
Okay.
It's its own thing. But I have other ideas for stuff.
Yeah.
But you want to put
So
out your best stuff. You know what I mean? Your
yeah.
good idea. Not every idea is good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that I would say 100% of mine fall into the like, this is never going anywhere outside of my notepad and my phone. Like, this is where it's going to live. And that is okay because it gives me something to just keep writing down stuff. And maybe by the time I get a complete story, there will be like one good idea that I can pull out and then make its own thing and go from there.
Are you trying to make a
So
book or thinking about one?
I mean, if I were to do anything, I would just be writing one. Have never had the art skill. I like doodle on, little sticky notes during meetings. But it's all like terrible stuff that I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It was a time killer. But I really enjoy writing, and I always have. Even back in high school, like I was the kid in English class that everyone else was like, "You're such a suck up," and I'm like, I actually like writing. Like I really enjoy this. So in college, I minored in English because I wanted an excuse to just write more and study writing and poetry and playwright and all of that stuff. And so like I've written down a bunch of ideas. I just like I don't know. I don't know how to make the turn from like I have an idea for a story that I think would work really well as a comic because I understand the medium, but then like translating a story into a comic script is the like, how in the hell do you do that? And that's kind of where I'm at with my most developed idea.
Uh-huh.
And I took a shot at writing a script. I just like, I've sent it to one person because I was like, man, I got to show this to someone. And also, like, I don't even know, like, this is probably awful. And I don't know how to make it better. Like, I don't know why it's bad. I just know it's bad. Like, I know it's not good. So like I just need to send it to somebody so that I can say like, yeah, I wrote a thing and I sent it to somebody.
Yeah, you need
So
an
that's the
editor.
thing. That's the
You
thing.
need to find
So
yourself an editor and throw it in their lap and ask them what they think.
yeah. Yeah. So
I
that's
recommend
like,
an editor no matter what you're doing. You got to you got to get opinions of other people. You can't just look at it at yourself. I'm my own worst critic. Trust me on that. I
right.
mean, there's
Right.
a lot of things that bothered me about my comic that I had to have fixed, and that's it slowed it down a lot. But I don't want someone going on the internet and pointing out and making fun of my panel or whatever because something wasn't right. And as long as I know about it, I'm gonna fix it.
Right.
I'm gonna look at everything like a fine tooth comb, whatever, and just really look at my comic and really I'm trying to improve too, and be
Yeah.
quicker and just make a better product next time. Even try to beat my first efforts.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I tried to get the best team I could. I mean, I got Eisner Award winning writer for my scripts. I got to work with legend Don Perlin and Bob Layton for the cover. And then Gerhard, if you're familiar with Gerhard, you worked with Dave Sim on
Okay. Yep.
Cerebus.
Okay.
He helped me redesign Smokes. Originally, Smokes just wore a wife beater or sometimes a hoodie over that. And I thought, later on, when I was putting out my comic, that I needed kind of like an upgrade in his wardrobe because it's
Mm.
kind of too generic. So I came up with the like a nom jacket or like a army surplus uh, top
Yeah.
with the sleeves rolled, kind of like if you watch Platoon or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
So I gave him that, and then Gerhard kind of added a patch to it, added the second infantry patch, and when he first put that on there, I wasn't even really familiar with that. You know what I mean with that stuff. So I
Yeah.
found it on the internet and looked it up, and I did a show in Colorado Springs. I got it to be invited guest, believe it or not, in 2020. The hell year was it? 2022, I believe it was. And I'm listed on the website with Jay Lee, fucking Bart Sears, Mike Barron, Bob Hall.
That's
Then it says
awesome.
Justin Belmont. Man, it just didn't make any sense to me. But I was there, and got a little taste of that. Usually, I'm behind the table, and walking around and asking
Yeah.
people for sketches and stuff. Man, I've been going to comic conventions since about 15. I've been to so many. New York Comic Con, Toronto Con, Vegas, California, wherever, just all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm a big collector of artwork. That's my hobby. Besides making comics, I like to collect different various artists and stuff like that. I still collect comic books, but I don't buy. I'm not going to buy any of the new stuff. I'm not really into any of that stuff, but more into indie comics now. There's a lot of people I can't back. I can't back everybody. I'm trying to make my comics too, so I try to back their first book So it's
Mhm.
nothing personal. If I don't back your second issue, it's not because I don't like you or I thought the first issue was terrible or anything like that. It's just I don't have the funds to, back everybody's book every time around. I
Yeah.
wish I did. And a indie book would cost you like $25, $30. So I think people out there need to do the digital option. I was fully against it at first, but I probably
So
raised about $500 to $600 just in digital sales, and that's a lot of money for a small guy. You know what I mean? That's a cover.
yeah.
That's a few pages of art, and it doesn't cost you really anything. I mean, some time to make a PDF file. There's free PDF apps out there where you can combine. It'll combine the files and make you a PDF file.
Yeah.
And I just put it together myself and offered, a digital tier for people that are in different countries and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
uh, the Australian tier, I guess they call it, because it's so
Yeah.
expensive to ship there.
Yeah.
Um, but I use Pirate Ship for my shipping, and now Canada is cheaper and more affordable. So I offered Canada. At first, I didn't offer Canada. I got people mad at me about that. But it was
Mm.
$21 to ship comics. I didn't feel right if my comic book cost $25 to charge someone 120 or $21. So if I charge
Yeah.
$20, it would be actually I would be losing money shipping at that price. I'd be
Yeah.
barely breaking even at 21. You got to buy, there's the cost of your Gemini mailer, your tape, and all that stuff,
Yep.
backing boards and bags and all that stuff people forget about. And but so I got yelled at by a couple of people that were turned off, but I didn't want to offer something and then not, and someone get their comic bent and stuff. And I wasn't, I never even packed a Gemini before I did this. I've got comic books in the mail in a Gemini, but I never packed one myself.
Sure.
So I just learned everything on my own and just learned to do everything myself. I got a pirate ship account, and I got a Rolo thermal printer, and I just print out all the labels myself. I did every shipment myself. Every single package that's ever went out has been me, no one else. Not my
Yeah.
wife, not my friend. Not one package wasn't shipped out by me. I personally ship everything out. I triple check all the comics, make sure there's no dings or anything like that. No one's got a bent comic from me. As far as I know, no one's ever said, that your comic came all fucked up. I ship it in bags and boards. Um, no, I thought that was going to be like the hardest thing of the comic book thing is going to be the fulfillment,
Yeah.
and I was actually really worried about that whole thing, and it
Yeah.
actually became the funnest part.
Hmm.
Seeing the names of the backers, seeing that you might have, whatever Dan Fraga backed me. I mean, what's stuff like that. Just seeing somebody like a big name backing you and stuff just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It gives you motivation. Just a small thing, a small act of a big creator like that backing your book gives you motivation. Early on, I got a lot of fire. I sent Mike Barron the cover of Weaponized Werewolf, which was drawn by Tim Vigil. If you're familiar with him, Tim
I've heard
Vigil
that
did
name.
Faust. If you're familiar with Faust,
Okay.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like a Wolverine kind of character. He's got a claw.
Yep.
Um, I think he did some Badger covers back in the days in the late '80s from Mike. I like this stuff because he's very gory and he draws a really good werewolf. So I had him draw the werewolf. I told him the scene, what was going to happen, and he drew this really cool cover for me. And I showed Mike, and I was like, Mike, don't show anybody yet. You know what I mean? It's too early yet. I haven't started the artwork yet.
Yeah.
And what's Mike do? He goes and puts it on his Facebook the next day, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And then he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, I posted that cover on Facebook and Shane likes it." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Shane?"
Right.
And Shane Black. And I wasn't really clicking with me. I was like, "I don't know who that is." The director of Predator and Lethal Weapon. And I was like, "Oh,"
That guy?
and yeah, and he's friends with him on Facebook, I guess. So he posted just the black and white art, and I think it had the logo. So I had the Weaponized Werewolf logo. It was in black and white as well, and it was a little like an earlier mock-up of the cover before the color was added. And he said he was in, that he wanted to back my book. It was just a simple sentence like, "That looks cool. Where can I get this?" or something like that.
Yeah.
and I took a screenshot of it, and then I showed a couple people like, "You sure it's really him?" And then it was him.
Yeah.
He didn't back my book, and I haven't got a chance to give it to him because when he looked at that book, it didn't come out till like almost maybe a year and a half later or something like that. So he
Yeah.
probably forgot all about it. But I tried to reach out to him and I wasn't able to. But that comment alone gave me the fire under my ass to to really do a good job on these comics like that. So
Yeah.
just that one comment just gave me a fire up my ass, so to speak, I guess.
Right.
Um, but one day I do want to get a hold of him and send him a comic or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that'd be a great full circle moment. Like, hey, remember that time you commented on the thing? Like, here
yeah,
it
you never
is.
know, man, when you put out a
Mhm.
comic, who's watching or who's looking or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but I
that's
just want to
cool.
have fun with it. It's kind of it's just something I enjoy. It's a passion, and you
Yeah.
just gotta have it. You gotta have that passion, especially I haven't made any money selling comic books. I'm in the hole. Um, even if it's very expensive to make comic books, which I found out after I made them. Uh, so God bless you if you can make a comic at an affordable, price. I tried to get my overhead down for issue 2 without sacrificing any quality or anything like that. I wanted to work with Mike again. Um, so it is going to take a little bit longer to make issue 2 because as the money comes in for Smokes, I just throw that back in towards the production of issue 2. So
Yeah.
that's why I still have my campaign open. If you want to check out the campaign,
Yep.
um,
And it
bring
will
it
be
up.
linked in the video description. So that is super easy to find for folks. How do people find you on social media?
Mostly on Twitter, Justin underscore Belmont, and I'm on Instagram and YouTube too. But we usually just do our show, The Man Cave, every Thursday night. Um, we'll continue doing that for a little while until that gets boring, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
We're having fun. We're having fun with it, and the audience is still there, and people are having a good time. And it's I read that you got to have your guy time, especially if you're married and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
you kind of lose touch with your friends. But there's no excuse not to hang out if you're not working or whatever. On a Thursday night, you can hang out with your friends virtually or whatever. You don't have to leave the house, and we just have fun, just laugh. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
Twitter's the
think it's
place to
great.
find me
Okay.
if you wanna get a hold of me or whatever. And all my stuff's on Fund My Comic. Just search for Smokes in the search bar, and it'll pop up. I hope to work with some other artists. I got some other ideas of other artists that I want to work with. I really want to work with Jay Lee. Um,
Dude's
I made
awesome.
I made friends with him. I've known him since about 15. I remember I met him a long time ago man, at the New York Comic Con. It was so long ago. Uh, it was very early in his career, I believe,
Yeah.
and I just been a big fan. I did get him to draw Smokes on my sketch cover.
I saw
I
that.
had Yeah, I was able to do that, but he won't let me publish it. I understand why. It's just a simple sketch for him,
Yeah.
uh, and people pay probably tens of thousands of dollars or thousands of thousands of dollars for the rights to publish the publishing rights or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But I wish I can maybe work something out with him where I can get him to do like a headshot or something like that for an upcoming book. I
Yeah.
just have a list of people that I want to work with, and I'm not done yet. You know what I mean? I still want to make comics, as long as it's fun. When it becomes not fun, then I'm going to be out. That's what happened in the music industry. It just became, and I thought comics wouldn't be that stressful, and it's
Turns
pretty
out.
much worse. I'm having fun though still, and I'm not letting it get me down. Uh, there's probably some creators out there don't care for me or whatever, or not everybody's gonna like you or love you, but there's gonna be some people out there that are gonna support you, and you gotta just do it for them or whatever. You gotta find your audience,
Yep.
your clique, your crew, or whatever, and find your little space in the internet and just do what you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do this or you can't do that. You shouldn't do this or that. Do what you want to do. I think that's the best way to go about being creative in indie comics or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say like do and make the books that you would want to read. And like I think that makes total sense. So so that's the end of my prepared notes.
Okay.
I always like to end though with giving you just an open forum. If there's anything that you want to say, any thoughts that you want to share with anybody that might be watching this, it could be about your book, it could be about something completely different. This is where I just open up the floor for you to give us any closing, anything that you've got that you want people to hear.
I opened a Etsy store recently, and I'm starting to make products. I originally just started making like gifts for people. I
Yeah.
can make like pins, like those badges, a regular badge pin, a round circular pin. I can make those. I can make these rectangle shape pins. I also can make pop sockets for phones,
Okay.
and I have keychain bottle openers, which are pretty cool. Stuff people can use for their campaigns. And I'm going to be those are just my beginning products. I'm going to start offering maybe some metal stuff, like custom metal thing, like prints and stuff like that, or maybe even
Okay.
metal cards. So I'm still working on other merchandise, but I have about 6 or 7 products now on Etsy that I offer. And some creators are wanting bulk orders, like they want 100 magnets. I could do rectangle magnets or round magnets for campaigns and stuff like that. So I've been working on that. So it's some merchandise stuff, for new creators. If you even want like 10 or whatever, I can still do it. I can do 100. I can do 25, whatever. I can even do hundreds if I get a few weeks notice or whatever. And
Yeah.
I make everything by hand. I got these machines. I got this fancy printer, and I print everything on glossy photo paper, and it has a protecting covering over all the stuff that I make. Make these pretty cool magnets. Made some stuff for Mike Barron. I made a Florida Man magnet for him. I gave it to him as a gift, um, just so I can have samples and stuff to show people what I can do, what I can make. But pretty soon you'll be seeing some upcoming campaigns having my products, stuff like that. So I'm
That's
keeping
cool.
busy
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. Just a small, side money, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I think that's great too, because like, I mean, that's something that can benefit as you increase your network. Like,
Mhm.
that's an easy way for people to be like, man, I want to like, because I always see a lot of the creators that I follow on social media, like, what kind of sweet merch would you want to see on a campaign? And I see a lot of like, I'm obviously a button person.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and like, because I like bookmarks, but like, there's only so many bookmarks that I can use at one time. So, like, I get bookmarks with a ton of books, and then I'm like, well, shit, what am I going to do with all these bookmarks? Like, stickers, I got plenty of places for stickers. Um, stickers are always a win, but like, taking it to that, like, making magnets, I think that's a cool idea. Um, pop sockets for like the back of phones, to get those as like a comic book that is part of a campaign, like that'd be a really cool thing to like, yeah, no, this is my comic, like right here, because everybody always has their phone in their hand. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add some more products. I have a dye sub printer that I have not put the ink in yet. I just got it set up, but I need to get a heat press so I can use it.
Mm,
I'm probably gonna need some of that special paper uh, for the dye sub printer. So I'm maybe even might even do like custom hats and T-shirts. I can do a lot of stuff with this dye sub printer. Even print on like coffee mugs
okay.
and the metal prints, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to expand my merchandise. But right now, I'm just doing one step at a time.
Yeah.
Um, I only got my first sale just recently. I just started my store on Etsy, so I just got my first sale, um, and I'm just starting to promote it. So
Yeah.
not many people even know that I'm even doing it. So I still need a lot more samples and stuff to make. I got a friend who wanted me to make a sample, and I'm going to meet him at the Denver Con. So he wanted me to make a pop socket for him.
Mm.
Well, it's similar to a pop socket. It's not the same brand as pop socket, but it's same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's got like the 3M adhesive back, so it's pretty much
Okay.
going to be stuck to your phone once you have it on there.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't mess around.
but yeah, the magnets and the pins are all made out of metal, and they're cool. Some people make them with the plastic backs or whatever. I don't do that. My magnets, they're all going to be metal shells. Um, just put a lot of love and care into everything I'm doing. I think that's the best way, and the network with your friends and stuff like that. And start a DM group, get some close guys there. You got to have your own little circle. I think I remember you talked about everybody's in the cliques and everything, but you do need your support circle, whatever you want to call it, your clique or your crew, or whatever. You do need that, especially in indie comics. We're not whisper networks. We're just, we might say something about a comic book in our group doesn't mean we're a whisper network. We just like to talk about comics. Um, but yeah, we don't try to really shit talk anybody though or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's creators that are, don't know what they're doing or whatever, and whatever the comic books don't look as great, but they're trying. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there that not trying, just want to throw something out and hope to be famous and whatever, or make a lot of money making a boob book and throwing it on Kickstarter or whatever. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
could have did that. I guess I could have. You know, Even my wife said, "Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just make a?" I'm not making a smut book when I die. Justin Belmont, creator of Big Boobs, Mile High Boobs, or something, whatever the hell the name of the book is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. So
Yeah.
I don't want to make it just a book because I think it would sell more if I put more boobs in it. But I did add a little bit of sex appeal to issue 2 of Smokes. Originally, Smokes was supposed to have a friend. If you looked at that picture that on my campaign, the first drawing or whatever, the oldest
Mhm.
surviving drawing, it shows like this nerdy kid with glasses. Kind of looks like he's a nerd. He was supposed to be Smokes' friend in my original version of Smokes, but later on, I decided to ditch that idea, and then I came up with the idea of adding a girl, kind of like a April O'Neil type deal for turtles,
Yeah.
and they're not having sex or anything like that. There's no interspecies erotica or anything like that. She's just a goth girl who likes to smoke weed. Maybe that's about what they have in common.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun, and I got Corey Barton to draw the cover. He's known for drawing sexy covers. Then the main cover will be drawn by Bob Hall, which is already completed. Just haven't shown it, and that one just has Smoke solo on there. So you
That's
can pick
cool.
what cover you want, or I'm gonna probably have them, bundled together or whatever.
Yeah.
It's ready when it's ready. If anybody needs anything from me, anybody's thinking about making magnets or pins or I don't know, keychains or whatever. Soon I'll have more products. Just hit me up. Even if you need like 20, 10 of them, I can work with you and I can get them done pretty quickly. I got the machines at my house. Everything's here. Or just take me like a night. I could probably make even 100 of something in like a couple days. Um, but
That's
beyond
awesome.
that, I'd have to order more supplies. I don't just have like thousands of blanks laying
You
around.
don't
But
have just a room full of blank buttons and
no,
magnets.
my wife will kill me. I already got boxes of shit everywhere and comics everywhere. So yeah, check out my campaign. The links in the video description. We're at 226 backers. It's going to stay up as long as I have comics to sell, and that's about it.
Cool. Great. Well, Justin, I appreciate you hanging out with me, spending some time on a not Thursday evening, just talking about comics and conspiracy theories and the industry, and really enjoyed it. And that's gonna be it for this interview. So thanks. Hang tight after I hit the end stream button, and then as I end all of these, because what's a podcast without a closing line? That's going to be it for this interview, punks. So now go do the thing that's good for you and read some indie comics. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Justin, for hanging out with me.
Thank you.
Talk to y'all soon.